Hello everyone, hope you are doing well. My name is Eric and I want to thank you for joining me today as I do this build. This one is quite special because it is the first watch that's part of my new Lume shot series of custom watches. This is separate from my Yun brand of watches since those are more handmade in terms of making parts and finishing. So the Lume shot series can be considered to be more of a production series, although still very much custom made and all assembled by me. You'll be able to find more information about this watch on my website lume-shot.com and also find details there about placing an order. Thank you to everyone in advance. So I'm super excited to progress with this build. I did a bit of regulation to this NH35 movement and I chose this caliber because this first watch is a prototype. I only wanted to see what the final design looked like when put together, so I chose a movement that I had readily in stock. However, if anyone wants to purchase this design, I do have upgraded movement options such as the 6R15 or 6R35 calibers. Now here is the start of the show. The dial is special because it is made of meteorite. This material is super cool because it has so much character, from its texture to the way that it glistens to light, the fact that it originates from outer space, somehow making an incredibly long journey to our planet's surface and eventually onto our wrist in the form of a watch is an aspect that I find quite cool and romantic. For this dial, I chose to have hour markers with mirror polished bevels and a brush flat, which is also the same finishing pattern found on the hands. These surfaces just shimmer with light, which is also the case with meteorite, so this combination just seemed like a perfect match. But this beauty comes with some difficulty because it is that much more delicate and will scratch or damage even with the slightest touch. Thus, I avoid any contact with metal tools and strictly use a wooden tipped tweezer when necessary. Wood and plastic too is less likely to cause damage, but they are still an abrasive, so a lot of care has to be put when using any type of tools really. The tips of my hand setter are made of plastic essentially, and for the reasons just mentioned, I have to use very slight pressure when pushing these hands in place. Too much force and the plastic tips could potentially leave some faint marks. Of course, it would be nearly impossible to notice unless you have something like a 10x loop on, but still, I believe it's good practice to ensure that a watch has zero traces of anyone having worked on it. The second hand I chose for this design is also quite nice because it has a cap in the center, so you don't see the tip of the cannon pinion and instead find a nicely finished surface. Call me crazy, but this is a small detail that I really appreciate on watches and wish all my watches had this feature. So all three hands are in place and you can see just how nicely those mirror polished bevels on the dial and hands are glowing from even just my bench light. The dial is not being done justice here by the camera fortunately, but it really is dynamic and a joy to see in person. One of those things that have to be seen outside of a screen to truly get a grasp on. When deciding on meteorite as the material of choice for this design, I ended up doing a whole bunch of research about it for some reason. Meteorites are generally categorized into three types: a stony meteorite, which is mostly made of silicate materials and kind of just look like a rock from your backyard; stony iron meteorite, which has almost equal amounts of metal and silicate crystals, so rock and metal in very simple terms; and iron meteorite, which is almost completely made of metal. The texture that we commonly associate with being meteorite is a distinctive crystalline structure called the something that I can't pronounce. The streaks or bands that we see on the material are due to varying levels of nickel, which is often acid etched to make the texture more prominent, very much like how we acid etch Damascus steel or other materials such as superconductor. The varying metals will respond to the acid etch differently and result in a unique surface finish. Thus, no two meteorite dials will look the same and each watch will be that much more special. A bit of a tangent there, but I think knowing a bit more about the materials in your watch makes you appreciate it a whole lot more. I also appreciate sapphire crystals, which is what I installed for this watch. It has clear AR coating on the underside. Now I'm working on the stem and we'll do the guessing game again. How many stems are in this container? Leave a comment below. If anyone gets it right, I'll give away a basic watch toolkit or something like that. The stem is trimmed and leaves a burr at the end, so that needs to be made smooth, otherwise it could potentially cross thread into the crown. I don't like doing this at my bench because who knows where that micro metal dust will end up, so I perform these steps at a secondary bench in a separate room where my lathe, drill press, grinder, and other metalworking tools are located. Now I want to take a moment to talk about my new workbench that was sent to me by FlexiSpot, the E7 Plus 4-leg height adjustable desk. For full transparency, FlexiSpot did send me this for free to try out, but my previous bench was also by them and I've been very happy with it for the past 5 years. Now although this is technically a desk, it's proven to be great for watch work. I want my bench to be around chest level so that my work is right up on my face. Small parts are easy to see and saves my neck and back from aching. With the E7 Plus being height adjustable, I can set different presets depending on the task. For example, high up when setting hands for a better view of what I'm doing, and around mid-level level for crystals so that it's easier to use my press. Variable heights allow me to work comfortably and for much longer due to better posture. I'm usually at my bench for multiple hours and rarely do I feel any discomfort. However, tall benches can suffer from wobble, which gets worse if there's heavy tools on top. This is why I asked for the E7 Plus. Its 4 legs makes it quite stable and supports a greater weight than conventional 2-leg options. It's much easier to do precise work since things aren't shaking around, and I can have heavy tools on top without worrying about weight capacity. FlexiSpot also provided this drawer that you can install underneath. I use this for storing tools and supplies that I don't need all the time but still want within arm's reach. Having somewhere to put these away avoids clutter and prevents losing or knocking things over. Other tools like my time grapher also require being plugged into a power source, and the cables can potentially get caught on things while my bench is going up and down. But this is avoided by having a cable management accessory. The bench looks cleaner and also no risk of some disaster happening underneath. In general, I believe that a comfortable environment allows you to produce better work. This E7 Plus can also make the experience much more enjoyable, regardless if you're a professional or hobbyist. I'll have a link and discount code in the description below for anyone to check out. There's a 15-year warranty with a 30-day risk-free return service, which is something I appreciate for an investment like this. Before I attached the stem onto the crown, I spent some time designing and engraving for the crown and case back. There's a whole lot that goes into designing a watch, which includes spending a lot of time behind the screen. For example, before the dial was physically made, I had to specify all its dimensions and render it in CAD. Engraving is a bit easier since it's just an added feature onto an existing part, so I have the luxury to reference the physical component for measurements and such to decide how big the engraving should be and how it should be placed. I also offer laser engraving services, so if you want to get something put on your watch, whether that's a logo, special date, series of words, etc., check out my website or send me an email. I'd love to work with you on that. There is something so satisfying about engraving. Seeing a design that I had as a vector put into a physical part is quite cool. Now, I don't like laser engraving a watch that's already put together because there is electromagnetic radiation being emitted. How much of that actually affects a watch movement is not something I've measured or tested in depth, but it definitely can be a good thing. If anything, the heat generated from the laser can make the surface quite hot, which could negatively impact the watch in some way. Traditional engraving with a chisel should definitely be done with a disassembled part. The impact and vibrations from motorized chisels is definitely not good for the watch or movement. I cringe when I see some jewelers do that to a watch straight off of someone's wrist. With the parts engraved and cleaned up, I prepped the stem and screwed the crown in place. A bit of thread lock squeezes out from the ends, so I cleaned that up thoroughly with a bit of acetone. Careful to avoid the gasket because the solvent will deteriorate the rubber. The gasket should, however, get proper lubrication to assist with its longevity and water resistance. Now, with everything put together, I can screw down the case back and get a bracelet installed onto this watch, which completes the build. Here we have it. The name I picked for this watch is called SKI, which stands for moon in Japanese. I think it's a fitting name because of the Meteorite dial and how it shimmers in response to light. The brushed and mirror polished chamfers on the hour markers and dolphin hands have a beautiful interaction with light, which makes the SKI quite dynamic. I wanted a design that's suitable for everyday wear, clean in aesthetic, yet full of character all at the same time. And I think I achieved that with this watch. No two watches will look exactly the same because each Meteorite dial has its own unique texture. This makes the SKI that much more special. The case material is made of 316L steel and is a very comfortable 38.5mm in diameter with a lug-to-lug of 45mm and a lug width of 20mm. So a ton of straps can be paired with the SKI, and I'm tempted to put on a nice gray Saffiano leather strap as a secondary option. Here I opted for a Jubilee bracelet because I felt like it fit the design, but an oyster bracelet is also available as an option for anyone who wants to order the SKI. The end links are solid, the individual links are solid, the clasp is milled with micro adjust positions, and everything is held together via screws, so it's easy to adjust on your own. There's also 3 options to choose from for the movement: the NH35 as I've used here for the prototype, the upgraded 6R15, or even the further upgraded 6R35. Of course, the upgraded movements will be a bit more expensive, but I just wanted to provide more options. The crystal is double dome sapphire with clear AR coating on the underside, and as you saw during the build, the crown and case back are custom engraved. The parts have the model name SKI engraved in kanji in addition to a matching crescent moon. So I'm happy to present the SKI as the first model of the Lume Shot series of custom watches. If anyone would like to place an order, please visit my website lume-shot.com or email me, all of which can be found in the description box below. All of your support is truly appreciated, and projects like this allow me to be more creative, produce these videos, and fund future watches that I hope to release soon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.